Thanks, everybody, and welcome. So you will likely see your slideshow, as we know, and we are back. Happy New Year. And as we think about this positioning for success and fun in 2021, you see that uplift on it, and that is certainly what we want to do. So the question for everybody, and I realize I don't see everyone, but anybody who I can see, you're welcome to chime in. Have you ever wondered, what's the point? Right? You think, here I am, it's 10:30 on a Wednesday, what's the point? Some of you may have thought that. You may have thought, what's going on, right? Others of you may have thought, where am I going? What am I doing? What's the meaning of life? I mean, Snoopy is really getting introspective here. He's thinking about it a lot. So if you've had these thoughts, you're not alone. Now, in addition to that, we're not going to cover the meaning of life. Let's get that clear right now. We've got an hour together, folks. What we are going to do, though, is bring additional meaning to your life by looking at where you've gone and what you're committed to do. So that's what we have planned for us. So welcome again to our South Tampa Chamber of Commerce first 2021 Wednesday webinar. And it is positioning for success and fun in 2021, because there's not a point of having success if you feel as though you're simply checking the box and getting to a goal that was either established by you or someone else, if you're not enjoying what you're doing. It's also not good to only focus on fun, miss out on some of the successes that could lead to future security and future opportunities. So that's the reason it's both today. So welcome. As Erica said, I'm Debbie Lundberg, performance coach with Presenting Powerfully, and it's great to have you with us. As we look forward and we go back to our what's the point, then you can imagine that the what's the point of this is the purpose. What's the reason we're all here together? Well, it's to nudge you, to allow you and even uncomfortably encourage you to make time for you as a whole being at the onset of this year's journey. And you might think we are 4 weeks into it. Remember, though, we still have 48 more of these weeks. So personally and professionally, it matters how you address each day, each week, each month, and the entire year. So hopefully that sounds good as a goal. I can see Bobby nodding. I can see Fabiola smiling. I've got Michael. So if you wonder, Michelle's there on the screen. It can change, but those are who I see. So as we move forward, as we look ahead, we're going to do a quick reflect and project. So hopefully you all have the pieces of paper that we've got. Believe it or not, if you've printed them, we're going to use the front and the back of the page, and then process through these life areas that you likely see on the sheets that you have. Or again, if you haven't printed those, they're in the chat or your email. And it's okay if you don't have the sheets, you can work along whichever way fits for you. So we'll process through those, and then we're going to make plans for the next steps. Yes, we are going to have some commitments going on. So with that, we've got this hour together. So let's jump right into the reflect and project. So anybody willing to show that you have your piece of paper printed? Okay, I can see them. Now you're going to think, what am I doing with this? We'll flip it over to the blank side. Yes, the blank side. So hopefully you didn't print it front and back, but if you did, you'll figure it out. So for a reflect and project, let's do this. Think of one word, just one. How would you describe last year? Now, I don't want it to be about the pandemic or, the word dumpster fire hyphenated, but in other words, what's one word for your last year? You don't have to share these, but if you summarized it, what would it be? For some of you, it might have been success. Some may have been learning. Some may have been challenge. I know that for me there, and a lot of you know a lot of things that were going on, it was created opportunity, hyphenated, right? Created opportunity. So then think about what's a word for you for this year. Now there's some jokes out there right now, like don't call this your year, be careful everybody. But what's a word that you want to embrace? Is it about learning? Is it about minimizing? Is it about growth? I mean, what is that word for you? Because there's no wrong answer here. This is about you, for you. And then the last question, what'll be the difference? Doesn't mean 2020 wasn't good, because a lot of people had really solid years. Some people had great years. Many people had more challenging or the most challenging year they've had. So what's going to be the difference? This is where I'm going to stop the share. And a lot of you know that I do this, and encourage anybody who's willing to say what will be the difference in what happened last year to this year, even if it's a continuation. What's going to be that difference? Fabiola?
I think for me, if I can think of one thing that's going to be different, it's just the way I've been able to acclimate to the changes, to be able to, think outside the box and get used to not being out in the field, do something more virtual, and just reinvent myself, because I still have no control over what is to happen in the next 12 months. There's
Thanks,
more changes coming about, but the acclimation process, the acceptance, and just reimagining yourself, reinventing is going to be the key.
Sounds great. Thanks for kicking us off. All right, let's hear two more. Thank you, Fabiola. Who else is willing to share? What's going to be the difference? Shane.
Yeah, structure.
Structure.
Because I'm going to grow, but I know what I need to do, but I never set myself up to follow through with it on a day in, day out basis.
Structure. All right. So Fabiola is going to like these next steps because it is about adjustment. Shane, you're going to like it because you're making a commitment. Okay, thank you. Let's hear one more. Who's willing to share?
All right. For me, it's like to get out of my comfort zone, being now out, it kind of is forcing me to meet people that I would normally not meet, especially on this Zoom calls. And I have to I'm learning to get out of my comfort zone and to take the opportunity of this, world we live in right now, and trying to improve myself.
Sounds good. Thanks, Bobby. I appreciate it. I'd love to hear from anybody. You're welcome to put them in the chat as we do that. To respect our time, we'll jump back in, but thanks. So Bobby, you'll like it as well because you are about to get a little bit uncomfortable. So let's get ready. But I'll share back the screen and we won't all see everybody's discomfort. Okay, so when we come back here to the reflect and project and thinking about what that difference is, we know that could be for you that comfort zone that Bobby mentioned. It could be for some of you the idea of acclimating. Whatever it is, remember, the true difference is you. You are the difference in what happens. It's not about what goes on around us. We all have things going on around us, but you will be that difference in how you decide to acclimate, to use Fabiola's word, how you decide to structure it, to use Shane's, and how you decide to move through that comfort or discomfort like Bobby shared. So it's here. It's within each of us to decide what we're going to do differently and what we're going to carry forward that was successful. So thanks for sharing on that. And hopefully all of you had a chance to think about it. So we're already at the second part, processing through these life areas. So on that sheet that you've either printed off email, that you've downloaded through the chat, or you've decided you're going to work through your own way, we'll jump in there on page 1 of 2. We're moving to the printed side of it. So we don't have to go back to that back side yet. So page 1 of 2, the way this is going to work is I'm not going to ask anybody to share your numbers or put you on the spot. So I encourage you to really take this time that you've dedicated for yourself to think about how satisfied are you in each of these areas. And I also encourage you to listen to the definitions. I started this in my practice about 13 years ago, and then included it in one of the books that I co-wrote with Todd Josko called Hey, Where's My Bailout? Looking at how can you take ownership of what you're doing and where you're going. So in the life area review scale, we often get tempted to stand around something like a 7, a middle, and say, oh, it's not that bad. We're not using a 10-point scale. Many of you have heard me say this in the past. If you're asking people to rate something, use a 5-point scale and do not allow partial points. It gives us a forced choice that we really think through, how satisfied are we? So for the life area review that we're about to do, we're going to use that 5-point scale. A 1 means you're up to 20% satisfied with where you are in the life area. And what that means is you're not failing. What it means is you're not satisfied with where you are against yourself. We're not assessing this against anybody else. This is how you feel. And often we look at the measurability. Yes, it's important. It's also how you feel about how you're doing. So we're looking at satisfaction today. A 2 means you're up to 40% satisfied in the area. A 3 means you're up to 60% satisfied. A 4 means you're up to 80% satisfied. And a 5 doesn't mean you think you're perfect. A 5 means you're over 80% satisfied. In all cases, you can see there's room for growth. We mentioned that. We heard Shane talk about that earlier, that constant growth. At the same time, you feel pretty good about it. So if you have a lot of 1s, a lot of 2s, a lot of 3s, 4s, or 5, that's correct. And if you find that many of them are all over the board, we're going to talk about what to do in any case. So if there aren't any questions about the scale, so again, you're scoring a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, or a 5. There's no 1.5s. There's no 1.75s. I can't see Kevin, but I'm guessing that he's squinting his face at me because he doesn't get a partial, but we're going to keep going. All right. So in this first area, self-confidence, you'll notice it's at the top. Please don't think of this as one leads to the next, to the next, to the next. Think of that graphic that you have as you in the middle, and these are all coming out, and it's how you feel about it. So self-confidence is defined in the way that I coach it as the degree to which you feel good about you, your approach, your choices, and your results. So please score a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 in that small circle. And what's best is to score what comes to mind first. Please don't second guess yourself or give it too much. What typically comes to you initially is how you really feel. And then we apply what people think is logic, but is really rationalization to adjust it. So give yourself credit for how you feel. If my pace isn't good, jump in. Otherwise, I'll keep moving forward. All right, career. The field, industry, or company that you're a part of currently and where you feel you are going. This could be something you just started. You could have been there for a while. But think about your career, not your job, your career overall. How satisfied are you with where you are in your career? Those of you who pop up on my screen, when I see your eyes, I know to move forward. So it's nice. Michelle's smiling at me. Okay, next, self-image and style. And remember, again, we're not asking for answers here. This is for you, about you. The way you convey yourself, how you present your brand as a total package from the inside out. So how do you feel you align with your self-image and style, that confidence in it? How satisfied are you with that? Okay, communication. This one's a longer one. How you speak, write, share, and get messages across to one or many, including in one-on-one interactions. Those could be in person, on the phone, Zoom, Teams, and informal presentations. So this includes your ability to listen, interact, and engage with others on topics, issues, ideas, and more. How satisfied are you with your communication skills? Friends. Now, these are the people with whom you choose to surround yourself. And respecting it could be at a distance right now. It's that relationship that you have with your friends, the impact they have on you, and vice versa. So how is that reciprocal agreement of friendship? How satisfied are you with how that's going? So please score your satisfaction with your relationship with your friends. Shifting gears a little bit, health and body. Now this one, think of your overall state of health and wellness. And that's based on medical records, yes. So hopefully you're all checking in there. And how you feel about your health and your wellness and your body. So this is your endurance and your perception of your body's appearance and its capabilities. How satisfied are you with health and body right now?
0 is not an option.
Kevin,
I think I'm glad she froze. I was about to get ripped.
You broke
I'm sure
the
it's
internet.
coming.
And I saw you pop up, get things done, and keep on task as related to time, being productive, and generating results. So how satisfied are you with organization and time? You notice these two are combined. So you may feel like I'm really good being organized and not time. So as we have these life areas that are combined, give yourself an opportunity to think of the definition. Okay, passion. We hear a lot about passion. Please think of it defined this way: knowing what you enjoy, what you love, and having an interest and drive related to those things that enhance both your happiness and purpose. So think of passion like that. You might be passionate about something and not acting on it. So if you're not acting on it, then your passion satisfaction is probably not a 5. If you feel like you're not certain what your passion is, it's probably not a 5. Your passion can be outside of your work, certainly, and you could love your career and your passion, and that marries nicely. So please don't think that it has to be that your passion is solely what you're doing for a living. It's a nice bonus if you happen to get to do both. All right, financial. One of the shortest. Your money and your preparedness for the future financially. So how satisfied are you in the financial realm of your life? That takes us to something that might have come to mind when we talked about friends earlier, but this is family. Somewhat similar to the definition of friends, but this is the people related to you and how your relationships with them are impacting your life and vice versa. We typically choose our friends. We don't get to choose our coworkers a lot, and we definitely don't choose our family. So how satisfied are you with how those relationships are? Okay, love. This is a definition that often is the most different from what people first think. Your intimate relationships with others and the love you have for yourself as a person. Do you have that relationship about yourself and the importance of you? So love, how satisfied are you with love based on this definition? You notice it's not solely romantic love. It doesn't mean that you have to be in that type of relationship. So think of love this way and how it opens your mind and your eyes to how that impacts you. Next up, community. One of our longer, not quite as long as communication, but your involvement and connection in the area in which you live. This could be through organizations like South Tampa Chamber, right? Grassroots effort. It could be with people, alone, however that looks to you. How satisfied are you with how you're connected to how you define community, the community that you want to be a part of? Oh, Rebecca just popped up instead of Kevin. It's fun to see. All right, we're starting to round this out. Focus and direction. And I may or may not have mentioned this at the beginning, but certainly if there are any questions about these definitions, please bring them up. Focus and direction is all about selecting things to do that are beneficial and appropriate for you. Things that really work for you. Being on the path you're on, including the set goals and steps to move to and through to the next part of your plan. We heard at the beginning about the acclimation, the structure, the comfort zone. Focus and direction plays into this. So it's one thing to be passionate about something or to have a job or a role. It's another to feel really focused and feel like you're moving in the way that you want to move to have that success. Because we talked about success and fun. So that's focus and direction. It brings us to emotions, defined likely differently than you may originally think if you solely look at the sheet. Please think of emotions as your ability to be aware and be reasonable. It's your approach to taking things in stride and adjusting well to change. So I coach a lot on emotional intelligence. Think about, how do your emotions impact you? And are you aware, and can you be reasonable through those emotions? It doesn't mean you stifle them, or it doesn't mean you share every emotion. It's the interaction with it. Okay, spirit. So this is all about your personal preference and views and an overall state of connectedness. How you're spending time on your spirituality and energy. That could be formal for some people and from the perspective of a religion, or not. But that sense of connectedness, how you would think of spirit. How satisfied are you with that in your life? This brings us to our last smaller circle on the life area review, habits. Habits are the things we do on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis, which are part of our routine. The catch with habits is some habits serve us really well, and others are not well-serving habits. We tend to talk about habits as good or bad. So I'm encouraging you not to do that. Instead, think about everything else you've scored and rated is how well are your habits serving the direction you want to go? So how satisfied are you with the habits you have? All right, now that those smaller circles are filled, you can imagine that brings you to back to the middle. So you are that center. Overall, how satisfied are you right now in life? So this is the culmination of all of the areas. It is not an average. Please don't get out your phone and open up your calculator app, because we're not attempting to find out if you're a if you're a 3.74292. Instead, now that you've heard them all and you think about that, because you go everywhere you go, work related, personal, you come as a whole being. So overall, how satisfied are you in your life right now? Is that a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, or a 5? All right, I'm going to stop the share here before we move on to the making plans for the next step. So as we stop the share, anybody want to share anything, no pun intended, on the process that we just went through? Questions you might have, comments, anything you noticed? Again, not putting anyone on the spot that you have to share any numbers. What did you notice?
The last question was the hardest.
Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, it is, right? If we started with that, it's like, how do you feel? You're like, we tend to base that on our physical sense at the moment. So if you check in with people, thanks for being straightforward about that, Kevin. It's like, wait a minute, overall, we're a lot more than fine, right? Some of you know that I encourage you not to ask people, how are you? Rather say, what's going well? What's on your mind? You know, what's the focus? Because that's about that whole person. So yeah, overall, if I said to you, okay, tell me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right from the get-go, you might be like, whoa. Instead, you've got that culmination, but not the calculator, Bobby. For some of you who couldn't see, Bobby held up his calculator. Thanks, Kevin. Other thoughts?
They're definitely all interconnected in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and you may find, Ed, and again, it's okay if you don't want to answer this, but I've seen it over the years. I utilize this, even though it was something I created years ago. I go back to it. If you notice something's going really well, but your sleep's off, or something's going not so well, but something else is good, we tend to focus on either what's not good or what's really good. And then we don't realize that we're bringing all of it. You know, like how people say they bring baggage. I'm like, I don't know if you bring baggage, but you certainly bring all these parts to you. And we might think people don't notice it, but it plays a part. So you're right. All right, any last comments before we move on to Deborah?
I was just going to say, I like the, I put myself as a 4 overall, but I have a couple of 3s here that draw my attention that I could, improve my 4. So,
okay.
As the individual parts, I like the idea of, breaking it out like that.
Thanks, Deborah. It's as though we planned this, which everybody, we're very connected, but we did not plan this. It's perfect time for us to go back into the share. Yeah, we're even both wearing red to support the Bucks. All right, so I'm going to go back in the share. Deborah's comment leads perfectly into it. What do we do with these areas? So as we come back here, let's think about what do we do for the future and what's going to be different in how we do this. We talked about being the difference. So as you look at that first page that we've just completed, you may or may not have put your name on it. You may not have put the date, but I'm asking you to please think of a time frame. And before you do, think about habits don't change overnight. We typically feel something changing before it makes its impact. We notice it before others do. So the reason I'm bringing this up is in a time frame, think of 45 days, 60 days, 75 days, 90 days, or 6 months. Think about that, but I'd encourage you not less than 30 days and likely not more than that 6-month period, because we're going to utilize this for a little bit more. So on this moving forward, once you have today's date and the number of days or weeks or months that you want to check back in, then this is a good time to think about the next part. You'll see this arc that I've shared on the screen. On the outside of those circles, starting with self-confidence and moving around, think about that time frame. So if I were doing this right now, I would say, all right, in 60 days, I'm thinking about where I would like to be. Now, like Deborah said, hey, there's some 3s to move to 4s. But in 60 days, can I move everything from up to 60% to up to 80%? Possibly. And that's that aspect of how much are you going to structure and stay committed, like Shane mentioned earlier. So please go around and note on the outer ring where you would like to be after that time frame. Now, if your temptation is to put 5s for all of them, I'm going to tell you that that is not the goal. If you choose that as the goal, that's your choice because it's over 80%, not perfect. I'm not saying to put all 5s though, because you know where you are and where you can go in that time frame. So take 2 minutes. It's a quick exercise to start at the top with self-confidence and go through them. So from self-confidence to career, moving forward into communication, where would you like to be in that time frame? Because you're setting your goals.
Can you give me your, or give us your passion definition again?
I think she's frozen.
Rebecca, It was knowing what you enjoy, what you love, and having interest
Okay.
and the drive related to those things that are enchanted with your happiness and purpose.
Okay. Thank you, Eugenia.
You're welcome.
Looks like we lost Debbie for just a moment. I think she's resetting her internet. So just hold tight.
I like your cup, Tara.
Thank you. It was a gift from PV Exchange. It's 24 ounces, so it's getting me through my water goal.
It's too quiet.
While she's loading back
Because
up, can I introduce a new member?
we're being introspective.
Go ahead, Brianna.
My friend and new physician to South Tampa has joined the chamber as of today, Alexandra Reyes. She wants to say hi and unmute herself real
Hi.
quick. And
Great that you're
meet
here.
with-
Wonderful to see you. Thanks for joining us. We're so glad.
Thank you. This is
So
great.
you're welcome. So going back into the last part of the session, you have that second sheet. Hopefully all of you have that. You had a minute there to go around and look at where you would like to be, as well as apparently introduce a few people. So good use of the break. So with that, look at that next sheet, and what you're all going to find on there is 4 areas. So we heard Deborah say earlier, hey, there's some of them that I would like to see improved. We're not going to tackle every life area, for everything right now. Instead, if you ever go back to using this, and anytime you're using it, is you want to focus on 2, 3, or 4 of these life areas. So this is the opportunity to choose those. They might not even be your lowest score. I encourage you to think about what will have the biggest impact, as well as how you would like to fill that gap. You might have a 3 to move to a 5 instead of a 2 to a 3, and you may choose that as more important. So when you do, then you want to say, I'm going to choose that area. And you notice that on the sheet that you have, it's the importance of it as well. So what's your life area? The reason it's important for you. And again, that's all about what you are going to choose. And then the action you're going to take. Because the true difference, when we talked about what will be the difference from last year to this year, the true difference is not only you, it's what you're going to do specifically. So please choose those 2, 3, or 4 areas. Think about the reason it's important to you. And again, it's only for you. So let yourself know the reason you're prioritizing it, and then make your decision on the action you're going to take and when you're going to take that action. Hopefully you've got at least one of them at this point that you're saying, okay, I know this is one of my life areas. It's the reason it's important, the action you'll take, and when you're going to take it. Okay, so who is willing to share that you've got one and something you want to share about that life area before we go to all of them to make sure we're on track and share a few ideas about how this works?
I don't mind going.
Okay, let's hear it.
All right. Building off what I said earlier, and then also what Ed was saying, I realized from the circle, organization and time. I have great scores and everything else. Anything that I'm weak on, I realize it is not maybe my health and fitness or my financial situation. It's my lack of organization and utilization of my time. And if I focus on that, that unlocks so many other things, including confidence as a secondary or indirect result.
Thanks. And I believe that's you, Shane, right?
Correct.
Okay. Thanks for sharing. And when you think about it, you can have all these other things going well. And then if you feel like you're struggling to get somewhere or to get something done, you don't feel as accomplished, right?
Right, right.
Yeah. So that's a big part of it. Time and organization, I find, as well as people talking about, hey, how do I stay on track, or even the emotions, comes up a lot. Because if we can get that in a way that we're really satisfied with it, not perfect, but satisfied, we can see those results. So thanks for sharing. What's the action you decided that you're going to take?
To create a daily schedule and to set it before I go to bed, so when I wake up, I don't have to think about it. I do it.
You just do it. Yep. Well, that's smart. And I can tell you, and some of you probably know that I'm about to say this, that goals plus actions equal planned accomplishments. So having those actions very clearly laid out is one of the best ways that you can do it. So if it's set things in your schedule, so a list is something that most of us feel really good about making. And from a list, if you take it and schedule those, that will allow you to then see them and see if it's realistic. Is it realistic to get that done in that amount of time? And if so, then you move forward with it. All right, so we're back. Okay, so hopefully everybody else also has anybody else want to share something that you've got? An area, an action, the reason it's important for you? Be good to hear from some others, and then we've got one more thing.
I can share.
Okay.
The first thing that came to my mind was the health and body, because it's important, because it's a difference of life or death and the quality of that life, if that's what you end up with, So the action, of course, I know what I need to do. I need to, watch my diet, do my exercise. It's something that I struggle with all the time. But the whole pandemic and the lockdown and, sitting at my desk and going from my office across the hall to my room and not really doing much, that has exacerbated something that was already a challenge for me. Okay. And I need to do it like immediately. It's a matter of, the cost is too high if I don't do it.
It's serious, and yet you can still have fun with working on your health and body, Fabiola. And I'd love for everybody to hear this message very, very clearly. And I know a lot of you know me. When I say anything, it's coaching, not criticism. So focus on removing the words, I need to. I need to is very burdensome. It's like, oh, I need to eat well, I need to exercise. Look how I just get slumpy. Instead, say you want to, you will, or you are. So if I think about, most of you know I run a marathon every week. So I don't say, oh, I need to run a marathon to stay in shape. I say, I want to run a marathon because it feels good in the long run to be in good physical shape. So when you change something from a need to a want, you're positioning it as what the positive results will be. So allow yourself to think, I want to do this. And then in order to get there, those are the activities. Now, for anybody who picked health and body, please do not put eat no sugar, work out every day, because very few people are going to do that. So give yourself the opportunity to succeed, not by setting the bar low, by setting the bar high enough that you can overcome that hurdle and get out of your comfort zone, like Bobby talked about, without failing. So think about, if it's for some of you who aren't tremendously active, walking 20 minutes 3 times a week, and then you can adjust it. But if you say walk an hour every day and you miss it one day, you feel like you're just going to move that circle out of your life area. So set yourself up for success by creating a goal plus the action to have a planned accomplishment. People talk too much about goals. We don't talk about the actions and how they impact the accomplishment that you want to achieve. So thanks for sharing that, Fabiola. And replace the word need for all of us in the Zoom room with want, will, am. And then the actions that you're taking, not eat less, this, that's not measurable. It's not about more or less. It's about really measurable contributions. 20 minutes a day, eat 12 servings of vegetables in a week, whatever that is. Okay. All right. So how about another life area? We've got time allotted for one more. Anybody else want to share one of yours and get some complimentary coaching?
I do.
Okay.
So it seems like from the pandemic, I've lost my good habits, especially in the morning. And it's taking me way too long to get started every day.
Okay.
So I will work towards getting back to my old habits. I don't want a new normal. I want to, especially in that area, get back to the way I was.
Okay. Well, you're a different person, Deborah. So, and that's for all of us. So think about, instead of going back, think about moving forward. So it's not about regaining what we had, it's about creating something new. And so it's not a new normal, it's what works for you. So if in the morning it's setting the alarm at X and getting up without hitting a snooze, even if that's what you did in the past, let you not judge yourself against where you were at a different time in your life, because sometimes we forget that life changes. And so making these goals and setting these actions and accomplishing things moving forward keeps us pointing in that direction, as opposed to, hear people say, I want to get back to what I was in high school. It's like, really? Because everything's different now. So I encourage everybody to think, what do I want to do and what am I willing to do to get there now and moving forward? Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right. Well, now think about accountability. So as we wrap this up, and before I answer any other questions that people have, accountability is wonderful, and accountability is scary for some people, because when we're accountable, not only to ourselves and to others, then we have the opportunity to celebrate wins. We have the opportunity to have misses. So I'm encouraging each of you to open up the screen. And if you don't have it in the view where you're sharing and seeing everybody, to reach out to one person. And if that's me, that's okay. I'll take on as many as you want, to hold yourself and that other person accountable, to be those accountability partners. You've probably heard it many times. If we don't share these ideas and truly ask the person what action, when, what's the importance, then the other person won't say, remember to, Fabiola, remember you said it's life or death and that you want to really enjoy that life. So what day are you going to go for that walk? And it's not nagging someone. A lot of people think about that. If you go through any sort of revelation in how we communicate, you're not nagging somebody when you care about them if you're asking them something that you had an agreement on. You're checking in, and that accountability is positive. So choose somebody on the screen there. And if you say, I don't know anybody, still reach out. A lot of you have put your information in the chat, and choose that accountability partner. And through that, or if you have somebody else, make sure they know the areas, the reason it's important, the time frame, and your action. And if you find that you're saying, oh, but, then instead say, and if you don't hit it for some reason, then change when you're going to do it. It's been proven that if we do something within 24 hours, we have the highest likelihood that we will stick with something. 48 hours, it drops a little bit. If we get beyond a week, it doesn't typically happen. So set, even if it's an action that, to Shane's point of putting something on his list and then moving it to his calendar, is to call someone about setting something up. That's an activity that moves you toward that planned accomplishment. All right. Okay. So now that we've had a chance to project after we reflected and then look at our life area reviews and plan for the future, what do you feel has been valuable out of this, or that you see you're going to do differently? Who can we hear from? A different person.
This is Michelle.
Hi, Tara.
Oh, hello. It was good for me because it helped me break each area down really small, so I can actually see parts of me that, you know, I'm happy with, so I don't have to focus so much energy on everything. It's, you know, I'm a very big picture person, and this kind of broke it down smaller. So it's a lot easier to make some smaller goals to get where I need to go.
Well done. Thanks, Tara. You're welcome. I think, Michelle, you had started to say something as well, if I saw that correctly.
I did, and I was actually going to say pretty much exactly what Tara said. It was a good reflection to kind of fix the areas that need to be focused on.
Or so that you want to focus on.
I want to focus on, correct. Yes,
right.
Correct.
Good catch, Michelle. Good catch. All right. Anybody else want to share what the value? Oh, Tammy?
So I was able to get through all 4 on the worksheet, and I realized that something that I struggle with regularly, which is like seeking medical assistance. I've had an injury, and I've just figured that I can heal on my own. But going through this made me realize that it's causing strife in 2 of the 4, which means that I really need to get down to the bottom of the issue. So I will be calling the doctor as soon as I get off this call this morning.
That's great, Tammy. And you know, while it's unfortunate that you're hurting, and I'm not asking you to share, but I can only guess. I mean, it can affect your family. It can affect your love and your relationships if you're not feeling good. It can affect your career if you're not feeling as confident. Any type of physical injury impacts us emotionally as well. So it's really great that through this process you saw that and you're willing to take the action. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, I injured my heel, and part of my habits has been regularly walking every morning, and I haven't been able to do that for over a month, and it has impacted everything else. Definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks for being vulnerable and sharing that with us, and realizing that when we don't prioritize ourselves, that everything else is impacted. We think, well, it'll heal on its own. And I've done it. Probably the rest of us in the room have as well at one point. And thanks for being the example to change it. All right. Well, with that, you all have this, you've chosen your time. And at the same time, you could do this at any moment. We were talking earlier, Brianna and I had a chance to talk earlier with Erica, that what you have now as what I created years ago is a tool. And anytime you're starting a new relationship, a move, a new job, something is feeling great even, or unsettling, you can come back to this and think about, what am I doing really well that's keeping me in this good place, and recognize it and keep doing it. Or if you're feeling off, you could say, you know, like Tammy shared, hey, this is affecting other things. What's the root of it? And so I can't encourage you more to utilize this for the time frame that you chose, and at any time in your life, as you think about how do you want to position yourself for success and fun in 2021 and beyond. So thanks so much for joining in. Hopefully we've hit that goal of ensuring that you've gotten the nudge. You allowed yourself to spend some time on you. So before we finish, please go back to looking at those words. That one word you had for 2020, that's gone. For 2021, I encourage you to look at that word. And now that you've assessed the life area reviews and your satisfaction and some of your action items, do you want to keep that word, or do you want to change it? So look at that. And if anybody wants to share what your word was and if you're keeping or changing it. Most of you had it on the back of the page.
I can share.
I'll share.
Okay,
my
Elise,
word for, yay. My word for 2021 is optimistic, and I'm keeping that.
Nice. All right.
That's right.
Optimistic. We like it. All right. Thanks for starting us strong. Other words that people want to share? Thanks, Elise.
My word actually. Oh.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Oh, I actually chose the same word as Shane, growth, but with it I put more action. And after filling out all of my different areas and action to take, I realized that a lot of them I can start taking action now.
All
so
right.
I'm keeping that.
All right. We like it, Michelle. Okay, Rebecca, I saw you were ready.
Commitment is my word for 2021, and I want to keep that.
Okay. How great that everybody took a look at, we reflected on whatever you had on 2020. You notice I didn't ask what those words were, where you're going in 2021, and now you have set the course for that. So since you have it within your own reach, remember you are that difference and you've got the tools. Is there anything we missed that you wanted to cover as we have a few minutes remaining?
How do you feel about vision boards for goals? I laughed at it last year when I made one, but then I actually did quite a few things on it. So I stopped laughing at them this year.
Yeah, so the tools that we have, I mean, I've done many sessions on vision boards, and what I encourage people to do is remember that it's you against what you're willing to do and what you're willing to accomplish. So the magic, the enjoyment of the board is wonderful, and that experience is part of your planning. And the coming to fruition is because of your own actions. So vision boards can be part of a planned accomplishment. They're visual, right? We happen to do this, which was writing it down, which is a form of a visual. So I'm a huge fan of them as long as people are willing to take action to get there. Because once you plant that seed, if you water that, which is your action, you're going to see the growth, to use Michelle's word. So if that works for you, I've done them for years and years. I really enjoy them and love to see the results. So I'm glad you did too, Rebecca, that you stopped laughing. Okay, so as we wrap this up and a bit adieu to our very first Wednesday webinar, thanks not only for joining us, thanks for the reminder that it's not about what is life, it's about what meaning are you bringing to your life through your actions. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Deb.